So what initially appealed to me had to do with how Nike and Ben and his team at the Studio Kitchen were mining the simplicity of knitting, its geometry, its pattern, its materiality, with the complexity of the body and in motion. That became a point of departure for me in terms of moving forward with the workshops and also the final legacy piece. One of the questions that I had in starting the project was to think about the possibility of buildings being woven, knitted, braided, etc. You know, could we start to think about buildings being as light as air? And certain textile-based processes afford novel ways of considering that paradigm. Performance, lightness, form-fitting, sustainability become immediately relevant in terms of what we're doing. I'm very interested in probing the human body as a biodynamic model that can give us new ways of thinking about issues of performance and adaptation at an architectural scale. The myThread Pavilion is really speaking to basic part-to-whole relationships, coupling individual data sets that actually initially came from people in motion and bringing that into a collective. The first workshop, we gathered the participants and outfitted them with various fuel bands and ways of collecting and sensing data. They went out into Manhattan and engaged in various activities. And we took all of that data that was collected and began to make sense of it. Between Workshop 1 and Workshop 2, we developed a series of custom-written algorithms and tools to begin to pattern and reveal those data sets in different constructs. We literally began to funnel and filter those data sets into the simple maneuvers of knitting itself. And so Workshop 2 was all about bringing the participants back and engaging them in a series of design exercises where we allowed them to work with the tools that we had produced. We brought Anne down, she brought her knitting machine, so participants actually got to see how those data sets became revealed in pattern and material. So the big idea was making the data tangible and materializing the data and really linking what may be thought of as disparate fields, sport and architecture, and thinking about how those linkages can give rise to next generation building structures and material structures. Right now we're doing a lot of form finding. We're working with my engineer, Daniel Bozia, who's based in London, to understand how all of this comes together into actually over 300 individual elements. And those individual elements reflect the presence of the individuals at the very beginning of the project coming together as a final form. And then the hope is that people will really just engage in the space and understand how it really starts to speak to an overall story, connecting Workshop 1 to Workshop 2, and then finally back to the original sort of point of departure and inspiration that's rooted in the Flyknit technology.